Hello friends, and welcome with you with this new video of our course DIO with security. I have got some comments from some viewers saying that in the previous video which we talked about the hashing of fields, the idea of the hashing, or there was some confusion in understanding how the process we will do it to hash the fields. So I'm doing this video from the start to recap with that video, to explain from the beginning how we do the hashing of any fields. Okay, so first of all, to hash a field, hashing the field means encrypting this field, whichever field, a password or a text or whatever, an image, whatever you wish to hash it, you wish to encrypt it and send it to the database, save it there, and whenever you call it back, you need to dehash it, and then you could use it. For instance, a login page, the login, like in here, the user enter an email and a password and maybe select some image and then save. When save, we need to hash the password. For instance, in our video we will hash this password, means we will encrypt it and then we send it to the database, persist in the database, and then again when the user wish to enter or to call back his data from the database, he enter again the email in here and the password. So we need to dehash the password so that the user can log in to his or her account. This is the whole idea, and the way to do that is very simple. It's by hashing. We use some special APIs that could hash and dehash our data to the database and from the database. This is as simple as possible. Now we are creating this demo app, which I'm using obviously Flutter version 2.8. So this video is only for those who are using Flutter 2.5 plus. Okay, the design is very simple. It is just a main, and from the main we go to app. Now if you app, we have only one page, and here we do the routing. If you don't know how to do the routing with the Flutter version 2.5 plus, then you could go to this course, which is Flutter 2.5 with extra features, and you could see how you do the routing for an application which uses Flutter version 2.5 plus. Okay, after that, after the app.dart file, we have the home page. The home page, as you can see, I just made it very simple. Two parts, the upper parts and the lower parts. The upper parts, the user entered the data to persist in the database, and the lower part is to retrieve the data. What we want to retrieve is we want to retrieve the image that we will save in here. When the user enter the email and the password, we will dehash the password. If it's correct, then we can retrieve the image in this field or in this area. Okay, this is the whole idea. It's a very simple thing to show the idea of hashing any field. And as you can see, the design of it, the design of it is very simple. We need two keys, obviously, because we are using forms, so we need two keys, and we need some fields for the image, to handle the image, how we can get the image either from the camera or from the gallery. We use the image picker, and then we can remove it. As you can see in here, we can remove the image by pressing on this button, and if there was no image selected, then we have to handle, from our assets we should place one image, any image from our assets. We need to put it in that case, and the assets, whichever image suitable you wish to add, in case the user didn't pick any image. Okay, now obviously we will save it as a base 64, so we need to convert it into base 64 format. These, now we have two text fields in here and two text fields in here. So we need to create controllers for each text field, and we need to create a method. This method will listen to any changes that happen in the text field. So whatever the user enters, these methods will follow any or will track any changes the user entered. Okay, so we need 4 controllers, 2 for sending and 2 for retrieving, and also 4 methods to track down all the changes in these text fields. We need to initialize them, of course, and after using we need to dispose them. These controllers, these 4 controllers, we need to dispose them. So this is the whole design. As for design, it's a very simple design, just some container and a list view, which I believe is obvious. Just a list view, some container in here and container in here, text fields in here, and grid image view in here, and the same in here, text view in this container, and here we have a small container also to show the image that we will retrieve, to show the image in here that we will retrieve. That's the whole design. It's nothing fancy about it, but the most important thing is this. When we click on this button, what will happen? When we click on the save button, we need to take this data, hash the password for any field in your case, hash it, and then send it to persist in the database. So once we click on this button, the onPressed function will be invoked, and then we grab all this data and send it to the database for persistence. Now in my case, as I have said in the previous video, we will use the model class that we have learned about. If you wish to know how to do the model class and to do how to do the database, actually it's all in this course. You could go there and see how you could use the model class and create a connection between the application and between the database, all in this course. So again, in this video we will use the model. From next video we will start using the DIO API. We will create the connection using the DIO API. Okay, so let's start this hashing process. First of all, let's create a class. You could name it whichever name. We need now an API to hash. We need an API for hashing the we need an API to hash the password. You could go to pub.dev. There are many hashing APIs. I have tried many. I found that almost all of them having some shortcomings for different reasons, and I found that this was the best one that can be relied on, because it can hash and it can dehash as well, and also it has a good thing, which is using this encryption API from the Australian company. I think it's called something Castle, the name of it. They are specialized people for encryption, and this is the API from them, which is a very powerful API for encryption. Now this API, of course, now once you have got this, you need to put it in your pubspec.yaml. Okay, so you put that in the pubspec.yaml. Once you have done that, then you come and create this class, give it any name, and then start creating an instance of this encryption API. This is the instance. Now this API or this class pbkdf2 has arguments, has variables: the blockchain, the iteration count, the desired key length, and the salt. Simply, the more or the higher values you select in here, the stronger the encryption. But it will take longer time to hash the field, whether it's a password or a text or anything. It will take a longer time. Okay, by default these values are 64, 10,000 and 32. When I tried it, when I was doing this course actually, I found that when I wish to enter the email and the password and then select an image and then I want to persist, I click on the save, it would take very long time, actually almost a minute, to hash the password. Only one field, it would take 1 minute to hash it. That's a very long time for any user. He will feel very uncomfortable, okay, to wait 1 minute just to hash one field. Suppose if you wish to hash 2 or 3 fields, that will be a very long time. So I have changed these values to make it a little bit moderate, okay. So you need to be careful when you select these values. The higher the values, the longer time for hashing, which means your password or your user will wait long time to hash these things. The salt is also a text field, as you know. It's a text field just to increase the power of the hashing. Okay, now this is the class. Once we have created an instance of this class of the hashing and dehashing, this class, this instance, we will use it in both hashing and dehashing, okay, which means we need to create two methods, one method for hashing, one method for dehashing. One method we use, which is this one, hash, we will use it when we hit this button. We take all this data and we send it to the database, and after we hash this field. The other method, which is to verify, is we will use it in here. We take the input from the user, which is an email and the text, also a plain text of a password. We send it to the database. We verify that this field, which is in this case the password match with the saved password, because in the database the password saved hashed, means encrypted, but here the user will enter a plain text password. So in this case we need somehow to verify that this text plain password match with the hashed password in the database. This comes with the, again with this method, where we use this instance from the encryption class with this method, which has a method. Now this password class coming from where? It comes from this API, from the password.dart. Okay, so password.hash and password.verify belongs to that API. We use the instance from this class, which belongs to another API, an encryption API from another company, an Australian company, as I have said. We use this instance in both cases, when we hash and when we dehash also. Later on we will use it when we dehash. Okay, very simple. Two methods, one for hashing using these three methods, and one for dehashing. We use it in the database, not here. Okay, so let's go back now to the home page, to this home page. Now we have said the user will enter a text and will enter a password and then select an image and then press on the button, save button. We take this data. First we hash the password, then we take all this data and send it to persist in the database. Okay, this will be done on this function, on this we call back, on this callback. Let me check on again on the voices. on this function on press. Before we take this data and send it to the model class, which have this method. The model class have two methods, one to persist the data and one for retrieving the data. So in this case, when the user wish to save, we will call the first method, persist data model. Okay, we pass all these arguments values coming from the entry of the user, the email, the password, and whichever image selected. Now, before we send the password, we need to hash it. How we can do? Remember this method, password hash, which we have taken it from this class, the password secure dot hash, and then we put two values. The first value is the password or the field value which the user enter in here, and the second argument is the algorithm. Clear? So before we send to the model, we need the values, the email value, the image value, and also the hashed value. The hashed value, we can hash it, calling the class, calling the hash method, and then passing this value, the password, which we have got from our controller, from our text field controller. Okay, then we can place it in a text, in a string, a normal string, and then we can use it in here, so we can send it to the database. So we send it first to the model class, and from the model class we take the same data and we send it to persist it in the database in the same method, persist data. Now how we can create the connection, and this I believe we have spoke about that in my course, Flutter database. You can go there and you can learn how to create the connection. Okay, this connection, how you create it, and from which API you create it, all these things in that course. So I will not repeat it. So here, what we need to do, how we now persist the data. Simple thing, we just insert all these data. The email, the password, which is the hashed password actually, and the image, we save them in our table. This is the table. A PostgreSQL database table, 3 fields, the email, the password, and the image. As you can see, it has nothing so far. We haven't inserted any data in it. Okay. Once we have inserting in this table field, if the process is successful, we get a future true or false. If it is not persisted, the data, we pass it back. We pass the result, which is data persist feature. We pass it back to the model class, this model class, and from the model class we pass the result feature to the same this class. Okay, that's the whole process. So let's apply it now. Let's see if it. Okay, so we get the email. Let's say email@email.com, and the password, let's take it some word, let's say secret. Okay, secret, and then we select an image from this AVD. This is the image from the AVD. Now let's press on the save button. When we press on the save button, what will happen is that first we hash the password the user entered, then we put these three arguments, the email, the hash password, and the image data, into this model class, persist data model, and from there we send it to the database so we can insert in our table. We will insert these three columns of this table, which is this one. Okay, right now it has, as I said, has nothing inside it. Okay, so let's press on that button. This is the image. Save. Okay, data have been saved as shows in here in this. So let's go to our table and select again our query select. As you can see here, this is the email @email.com, and as you can see here, this is a hashed password now. It is not anymore a plain text. It's a hashed password. And this is the image, of course, the image, the base 64 string of the image. But this is the point here. This is the hashed password. As you can, we have selected a password, a text, secret, but it doesn't show secret, it shows a hashed password. So that's the whole point. Now, let's talk about the second part. Now, the user wish to log in using an email and a text plain password and then hit the fetch button. Then we need to grab this image and show it in here. But first of all, we need to match, is this entered password match with the hashed password in the database or no? If it match, then yes, we grab the image value and show it in here. As simple as that. So at the home page, let's go down to the second part. Just two text field and then the button. This is the onPressed function. Let's call it. What we need in here, we need to take two things, the email and the text plain password from these two fields. So the email and the password, we pass them to the model class, the second method in the model class, retrieve data model, and then we pass them to the database method, retrieve data. And here, to retrieve the data, we need to, first of all, check the password. Is it match a text plain password the user entered with the hashed password, with the encrypted password? Do they match? If they match, very well, then we will return the image value. The image value, of course, it's a base 64 string. We have saved it as a base 64 string in our table. So we need to return it as a future, and from this future we send it back to the model, and from the model we go back into here and we get this value. Okay, we talk about it right now. So this is our database. How we can check, how we can verify. First thing first, we go to that table, we select this, select query, we select the password field, we put it in a result, and then we need to do the verify, using our hash password dot verify. You remember this one, the second one? So in our database we need to apply this class, the password secure dot verify. We give it two arguments, The first argument is what the user have entered in here. The second argument is the hashed password in our table, which we have got it from here, from select query of our table. This method will check is the two password matching. If they do match, they will give us a boolean, a true. If it's true, then we can proceed with fetching the image data. That's the whole thing. If the password match, then we can proceed. Otherwise, we return a future which says, sorry, your password is wrong. The entered password is wrong. Okay? Now, this future is an image data, which is a base 64 string. We send it back to the model, and from the model we send it back to the home page. And here we have got a future. This is the base 64 image data saved in this future in here. Now we need to check, we do something. We need to do something with this future, with this image data. What we will do, if this future is not empty because this is a string, then we need to set a state. Why we didn't set a state? Now, to show the image in here, you need to set a new state so the image will show up, because this is a stateful widget. So you need to set state. Okay? We put this future, we put it in this variable. Now, what is this variable and how we can use it? Fetched image from data. This is a string, obviously, because we are saving a base 64 image data, so it's a string. How we can use it? In the same home page. If this string not equal null, then we need to show the image. We need to show the image in here. That's why we are setting a new state. Okay? So at the beginning, as you can see here, there is no image, because there is no image so far. We haven't fetched any image. So it is null. At this point, it is null. That's why we don't show any image in here. But after hitting the retrieve button, we will retrieve a future. We place the future in here. In this case, it will be not null. Then we can show the image. Now, how we can decode that base 64? How we can decode it and use it in this image.memory class? We use this method, image from DB, which takes this argument, which is this string, base 64 string. This is the method, takes this base 64 image data, and then we use decode, base 64.decode, which will give us a uint8 list, which we will use it in our image memory. And with the set state, we will show the image. This all happens if our entered password match with the saved password. If it doesn't, then we will get a text, sorry, the password is wrong. Okay? So let's try it now. email@email.com. I printed right, and the password is secret. Okay, so let's fetch. Okay, something went wrong. Did I type it right? email@email.com. That's secret. So we click on retrieve. Let's lower down this a little bit. Now, if the password match, then we should see an image in here. Retrieve. Okay, we have got the image, means the password the user entered in here, which was a plain text, have matched with the hashed password. Have matched with the hashed password in here. This is how we can hash and dehash any field, not only a password, any field. But again, you need to figure out these values because they will affect the strength, and also they will affect how long the hashing process will take. I hope this video clarifies anything that was confused in the previous video. And if you do like this video, please hit the like button and hit the notification bell so you can do the latest from my channel. And above all, please do subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much.